So I did it. I held my first open houses. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how that went. It didn't exactly go the way that I wanted, but let's go over it. Overall, it was okay. It was an okay experience. I almost want to say it was a bad experience, but it was also a really good experience learning-wise. So what happened was I found a house that was close to my home that had been on the market for a while. So I reached out to the agent and I said, hey, would you mind if I held an open house? The listing agent, if I hold an open house for you? And the agent was like, yeah, sure. So we set it up, and I wasn't sure exactly how many days I should do, but I knew that I wanted to do multiple days. So I decided to do it a Thursday night, because I worked during the day, and then I decided to do the afternoons, a Saturday and Sunday. And that worked out. So what had happened is about a week before I decided to hold the open houses, I went and checked the house out. And it was a really nice house. It was a 2-story house. It was really big. It was pretty cool. Checked it out, and I was like, okay. So I had a lot of confidence that this was going to go really well. So I went ahead, come Thursday afternoon, planned everything out. The night before, I set up my table, and I placed everything because I wanted to make sure that my presentation would be nice. So I practiced at home, and I got it ready, and I got all my supplies ready, and got everything ready. I had a list of open house listing of things that I needed to bring and do and have ready. And so that was definitely helpful because there's a lot of stuff on there on that list that I really wouldn't have thought of. So I go to the house, and I open the house, I get in, and the house is like sweltering hot. It's just absolutely hot. Mind you, it's pretty similar to what it is right now in my vehicle, 91 degrees. And I'm sweating as it is. And so I'm in here, and I'm trying to get this air conditioning to work. And it was a bit rough. Long story short, after fiddling with this thing and sweating all over the place for about 10 minutes, I decided to give up. And so I texted the listing agent. I was like, hey, this AC doesn't work, and she was like, and so we went kind of back and forth because it was working for her previously. But it never came on. And so this is where the fun began. So I set up, I'm sweating, I set my stuff up, and I'm sweating through my shirt. And luckily what had happened is I was wearing a dress shirt, and I didn't really put that on while I was setting up because I had a feeling I'd be sweating first. But I was wearing somewhat nice clothes and nice shoes and just drenched. And I finally got everything set up. And the tricky part was that I had to go out and put the signs up. And so I had only purchased 5 signs. Lo and behold, that was enough. This house was in a spot that had 2 roads, I wouldn't say major roads, but 2 semi-busy roads on various ends. But this particular house also was like not directly, I guess, adjacent to these busy roads. There was a lot of winding and turning in there. So that made things a little bit more difficult. And I ran out of signs my very first day. So I had to figure out how I was going to do this. And the tricky part is that I believed, I looked at the property before it. I should have done this. I should have known how many signs to plan this. And I thought it was going to be enough. Lo and behold, it wasn't enough. I was a few signs short, and I was only hoping that when people were coming, they would find, they can kind of look for the signs, the cookie trail that I left from. So after, it took a while. I got there about an hour ahead of time, and having all these problems and all this stuff that I just didn't expect, I was about like 2 minutes late. It didn't matter anyway, but the point being is that I learned that an hour wasn't enough time for me. And I was just generally miserable at this time. I was just really upset. And so I had to host this open house with the front door open, and I'm just sweating. And I don't want to say luckily, because it's never good when you hold an open house and no one shows up. But it was one of those cases where no one came and saw how drenched I was and how miserable I looked. But overall, that first particular day was a really good, I want to say practice run for the weekend, because it was just a Thursday night. So I tore everything down, and nobody came. Tore everything down, and I had a better idea what needed to be done. I needed to place my signs better. I needed to, bring a spare shirt. The idea that I was running around in a soaked shirt, and then I had to just put a nice dress shirt over that, just wasn't a good idea. So there was a bunch of little things I remembered. So Saturday came along, and I was like, okay, this works. So I went out, and I got there about an hour and a half early, and that gave me enough time to prepare. Now I know an hour and a half seems a bit excessive to a lot of more experienced people, but I'll touch on that because Sunday is a lot different than Saturday. But I got there an hour and a half earlier, and I also got balloons because I thought that, well, balloons will help with getting more attention. And so what I had also done that Thursday night is I went to Amazon. I bought more open house signs. I just should have did that from the very beginning. I didn't know, lesson learned. And so, okay, same process. I set it up before. Now I was a little bit more familiar with it. I wasn't as stressed out. The first day I was stressed out of my mind. This time I wasn't as stressed out. I knew how I was going to set it up. I had plenty of time to think about it, and it went much smoother. I set up much faster. And in fact, I think that the hour and a half time that I had there probably was too much time. I had spare time to I think I started a little bit early just because, and during that time, the listing agent, she was able to come in, and I met her, and she confirmed, yes, that the AC was absolutely awful. But things kicked off pretty well. I had more signs. I put more signs up. I got a change of clothes when I got there. I wore normal clothes, and then I had my nice clothes on hangers, and I figured once I'm ready to go, I'd go into the bathroom and change. So I did that. And that was a fairly okay experience. That went fine. Once again, nobody came. And okay, not so bad. And so that I chalked that up to experience. It was another day where I just acquired more experience about opening an open house, what it took, lessons learned. And what I'll do is I'll post some pictures of how my setup was, and maybe a little bit of a tour of the house. Just to give you guys an idea of what I was seeing. Maybe some pictures of me in front of the house and me inside the house. I don't know. So again, nobody came. A little bit disappointing because that was I believe Saturday was the day people were going to come. I thought the balloons were going to work. Didn't work at all. And what's even worse is as I was driving home, I had my window down, the balloons were flying everywhere. They actually, one of them flew out the window. But, so I was like, that's fine. So Sunday came around, but what I had done is I had left my setup the way it was, so I didn't have to touch anything because I knew I was coming back the next day. So I left that there, and I just took the signs with me because I figured when I'd come back the next day, I'd just go straight putting the signs in and then go straight into the house and everything would be ready. And that worked out. That worked really well. I had my dress shoes. This time I wasn't wearing my dress shoes. I wore my tennis shoes, and I did all the running around outside. And then when I got inside the house, I put my dress shoes on. So there was a lot to learn about clothing. There's a lot of clothing. I bring spare clothes and extra clothes and expect to be, sweating and stuff like that. And so that worked out. So I went and placed the signs, and that worked. Okay, so I get there, and I was still sweating. The house was 91 degrees, and luckily the listing agent was nice enough to say, hey, if you don't want to do it, that's fine, I understand. And I was like, I didn't feel like quitting. I had dedicated, myself to doing this time, and and it's a good experience. So I sat there, and so luckily I got a few people that walked in, and that was great. I got to talk to people and understand what it was they were looking for. I had one situation. I had some weird situations. So let's talk about those weird situations. One weird situation was a really nice woman came in, and she looked around the house. She didn't even go upstairs, and then she looked around the house for a couple minutes, and then she darted out, which I think maybe she darted out. Maybe she didn't dart out. It felt like she darted out, but she darted out. She's like, "Okay, thank you, goodbye." And I don't know why. I can suspect. I could be wrong. I could suspect that the heat was just too much. It was just too uncomfortable. It was too much for her. I don't blame her. It was just really hot in there. So that wasn't so bad. I met a nice couple. They came in. They wanted to look at the house, and they gave me their opinions about the house, and they asked me about certain parts of the city, and we had a really nice conversation. So I really enjoyed meeting them. It was a great experience. Just talking with them. There was another couple that came in, and so here's where I think I got to be a little bit careful about what I say, just because I'm not here to, I don't want to bash anybody. And, if this individual watches this and, says, "Oh, I wonder if he's talking about me," I don't want that to be a thing to where I start insulting people. But here's the thing I just want to make known. Hygiene is really important. It's really, really, really important. Because if you don't have good hygiene and somebody encounters you, they're not going to get past the smell. If you don't smell normal, if you smell foul, it doesn't matter your personality. Your personality is not going to shine past that. And I got the feeling that this is the kind of guy that I could actually hang out with. He looks like a kind of guy I'm like, yeah, me and this guy could be friends. But it was just really unfortunate. This guy's hygiene was just really, really bad, and it was problematic because that's all I can think of. It was all I can think of, and it wasn't like I was in this guy's face. I was 3 or 4 feet away, and it was just so pungent. It was so strong, and it's really unfortunate, because what that does is I was polite, and I'm a professional, so you take it and you move on. But what's unfortunate about it is because the rest of the house smelled like this. It smelled like bad hygiene. And I was genuinely concerned that if anybody else, any kind of visitors would have visited this house, they would have smelled this smell of BO. BO has a very distinct smell to it. And I was worried, instead of trying to help somebody, how can I help you buy a house, or look at this house, I was really concerned that, man, as soon as they come in, they smell this house. I'm the only person in this house. The only logical conclusion is that I'm the one that smells like that, and I'm smelling up this entire house. So not only does it give a bad representation to me as an agent, I'm a smelly guy, but it's just not a pleasing, scent for the home. It's not a pleasing thing for anybody to remember a house by. That's the stinky house. So I found that part really unfortunate. But after a while, it aired out and everything was fine. But it's just one of those things to where it's just a reminder how important hygiene is, and especially when you're encountering other people, it's just so important. So at the end of this, eventually, the end of the day, I was able to talk to a few people. Everybody was generally represented, so they didn't really need me to represent them. And everybody was already looking at other houses. So the house that I was doing an open house for, they each had their likes and dislikes and stuff. And it was a really good experience hearing about that. But as for this first experience, I spent 3 days in, I think the house got up to 93 degrees. Of just pure sweating, discomfort, and sometimes I didn't even get to meet people, and I had encounters with bad BO, and I want to say that people were probably willing to stay longer if the air conditioning was working. So that's unfortunate. But the lessons that I learned, which were really, really good for me, was that I need to take signs serious whenever I go to an open house. Figure out where and how many signs, where they're going to be put and how many signs I need to put. That's key. Go there ahead of time. I'm going to need one here, 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 here. Make sure I have enough signs ready. I wasn't prepared there. I think until I get really good at this, I think I'm going to probably try to give it more than an hour time of prep. I'm probably going to keep the standard of wearing normal clothes and tennis shoes and just keeping my nice clothes on hangers and just carrying them in. I think because, at least here in Texas, sweating just seems to be, a thing. And it also helps prepare me for if something bad happens, like with the house, like another AC condition. But I don't want to, go there with wrinkly clothes or anything like that. So clothes, spare clothes, that's also what I gained from this. And basically just knowing, how to execute this. What I do think I did well, at least, was how I set up my presentation. And once again, I'll post that picture here. Take a look. There's my presentation. And so I think I did that pretty well. It's pretty nice. But it's just a thing to where I believe this is a learning experience. And I'm sure there was a lot of things I could have done better. Maybe if you're watching this and you're a more experienced person and you have more advice, please drop down some more advice, what I could have done better. I did have a list, and I did that, bring toilet paper so that people can use the restroom if they need to, paper towels. I brought a broom so I could sweep. But overall, it was a really rough experience. I can't say I had fun, but this isn't about fun. I am really grateful for this experience being so difficult because it taught me to endure, it taught me to adapt, it taught me to plan better. So yeah, I'm grateful for the whole experience. It was helpful. It's really important to go through this stuff so that I know how to be prepared later. I'm going to keep doing more open houses. Hopefully they'll turn out much better. I'll get a bigger crowd. But anyway, my name is Lawrence. I'm a realtor here in Austin, Texas. Pretty new, but this is my journey. Thought I'd share with you guys. If you have any questions, comments, any advice, drop it below. If you like what I'm producing, then like and subscribe. I'm going to continue to create content, a little bit more about my journey, hopefully promote myself, promote Austin, the different areas. And if you just want to connect at all, have any questions about real estate, or if you can relate any advice, anything, just reach out. I'll leave my information down below. Once again, thanks for your time.